The people we surround ourselves with affect who we are. When we surround ourselves with people that want us to be better, that want us to do better, we automatically be better. It is reported that great people such as Ford, Edison, Firestone, they surrounded themselves with each other, and they even formed a mastermind alliance that allowed them to report their successes occasionally to each other and their troubles to each other, and they solved their problems. The people we surround ourselves with affect who we are. And I know that last week we started discussing this book, Self-Mastery Through the Art of Autosuggestion by Emilio Coué. And this is exactly what he was trying to explain to us in his book, that the people around us suggest things to us. And what we want to do is start to suggest things to ourselves. So if you surround yourself with people that tell you you can't do something, it is sinking to your unconscious mind without you knowing. If you surround yourself with good people, you will be a good person. I know that for me, when I see someone that's arrogant, I tend to look around them because I want to know why the people around them are allowing that kind of behavior. Anyway, so we're going to go to the book where I'm talking about page 13 and 14 today. So the book is on my phone. Again, just a reminder, that's why I'm looking on my phone. On page 13, the last paragraph, Emilio Coué tried to describe our unconscious mind as an untamed horse. And he said that this, compared to the horse, our mind would just run by itself, and we have to tame it so we can be able to direct it. So he described the horse as it is the same way with the unconscious self. Your imagination is the same as your unconscious self. You must direct it for your own good. Autosuggestion formulated with the lips is an order which the unconscious receives. It carries it out unknown to ourselves, especially at night, so that the evening suggestion is the most important. It gives wonderful results. You know, last week I did the challenge of the water challenge. So I have to tell you how it went. I actually drank 1 gallon of water on Thursday and Friday, which is crazy to me because what I did was when I went to bed in the night, I recited the statement 20 times, and then I did it again in the morning 20 times, and I found myself being thirsty, needing to drink water. And I was relaxed. I did it the same way the book told us to do it, except I was actually active about it. I will be continuing this for at least 21 days so I could see the effects of it at least, or try to make it a habit to drink water. Moving on. He says autosuggestion is an instrument which we possess when we're born. It is a force of wonderful and incalculable power, which produces, according to circumstances, the very best or the very worst effects. A proper knowledge of this force is useful to everyone, but more particularly, it is indispensable to physicians, magistrates, lawyers, doctors of the young. What I'm reading is that we learn as we're growing up to manage our impressions, right? Even our parents tell us, don't do this, don't do that, blah, 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 just trying to manage us, you know, because how would you let your kids just go around running, doing things that are not appropriate? Is because you want people to like them. And because we want people to like us, we tend to manage our impressions, which to a degree, it is fine, right? To a degree, it is fine in a sense that you don't want to affect people negatively, right? So you show up as your best self so they could show up as their best self as well. I know I had the conversation with Marsha, I think a couple of episodes back, where we spoke about the quote, I am who I am. She spoke extensively about it because that saying, I am who I am, just gives people the audacity to not even try to be understanding towards other people to an extent, right? If you are a loving, kind, compassionate person, yes, then you should show up to society being who you are. But if you are an arrogant person and your intention is to just trigger people, you should probably look into that, because there's trauma there that you haven't dealt with. Okay, so next we're going to go to where he tries to describe auto-suggestion. He said, in order to understand the phenomena of suggestion, or more accurately, of auto-suggestion, it is necessary to realize that there exist within us two beings absolutely distinct from each other. Both are intelligent, but while one is conscious, the other is unconscious. That is the reason why the existence of the latter is not generally recognized. The existence of this unconscious being may be easily proved if one will take the trouble to examine certain phenomena and to think a little. For example, we all know that the sleepwalker gets up during the night and without being awake, leaves his room dressed or undressed, goes downstairs, walks along the corridor, and after having performed certain acts or accomplished certain work, returns to bed. Next morning, he is greatly astonished at finding work finished which he had left unfinished the night before. You know, I have actually experienced sleepwalking. Very scary, terrified me, because you're talking to someone, they're walking, and you don't even, very, very terrifying. But now that he has explained it, I kind of can see, so maybe the person went to sleep with this burden of all the things that they had to do. And the burden was too heavy that even the subconscious realized that we just have to get it done, and woke the person up, their body, and they walked and accomplished that task. I mean, this is what auto-suggestion does to you. I mean, you have to experience it for yourself to be able to understand these type of phenomenons when they're presented to you. But because I have experienced sleepwalking, I could see how suggesting to yourself to a point where it becomes a burden will cause you to wake up and perform acts that you don't even know that you're doing. So we did page 14 and page 16. And then lastly, and what I found to be interesting is where he says, what is suggestion on page 21? He says, paragraph 3, he says, what is suggestion? One could define it as the act of imposing an idea on the brain of another person. Is such an action really possible? Properly speaking, no. Suggestion does not actually exist by itself. Oh, there we go. It does not exist and cannot exist except on the distinct condition, sine qua non, that is, transforms itself in the other person's mind into auto-suggestion. And the word we define as implanting an idea in one's self through one's self. Whoa. This just changes everything. So if someone suggests something to you, so for example, if someone tells you, oh, you can't drink water, you can't drink 8 glasses of water, it can only affect you if you suggest it to yourself. So unconsciously, if you suggest it to yourself. So if someone comes and tells me, Aisha, you can't drink 8 glasses of water, the only way that is going to affect me is if I actually subconsciously somehow suggest it to myself. This is what he's saying when he says, sine qua non, that it transforms itself in another person's mind into auto-suggestion. So in the end, right, is auto-suggestion that matters. And that is why you have to be careful with the suggestions that are around you, because you don't know which ones your subconscious mind is picking, your subconscious or unconscious mind is picking. So this should be the challenge for this week. Yes, this is going to be the challenge for this week. So the challenge will be to pay attention to what your subconscious mind is doing. So if you're talking to people on the phone and they're telling you, oh, you can't do this, you have to pay attention to how it's slowly sinking into your subconscious mind, because when things sink in there, it's very, very difficult for it to come out. So pay attention, pay close attention, and try to override that. And if you're not talking to people on the phone, if you're talking to people in person, pay attention as well. And pay attention to you yourself. Like if you're performing a certain type of task, like for example, if you're doing something that you find to be difficult, let's see, what do I find to be difficult? What do I find to be difficult? Maybe lifting something heavy, something that weighs maybe 100 pounds. If you are suggesting to yourself, oh, I cannot lift this, pay attention to why you're saying you cannot and change it and say, I can lift this 100 pounds, whatever. So this will be the challenge for this week. If you are curious about that paragraph that I just read, that I got my aha moment, it is paragraph 3, page 21. And it literally starts right there. What is suggestion? So I'm going to contemplate more on this and see what struck me about it. And then we'll go from there. So that's this week. This week, again, we're mastering ourself. Self-mastery is an old adage, right? If you look in scripture, right? Even in scripture, it's there that you have to work on yourself first. And if you read the stories about all the people that are in scripture, that have been mentioned in scripture, the people that actually made changes, they actually left their community. They isolated themselves. They went to foreign lands. Some of them went to caves, and, things were revealed to them in caves. People that have read scripture know what I'm talking about. But those people in scripture that were able to make change, they isolated themselves and they came back with revelations and they gave it to the people. So that's why you say start with yourself first. And that's what we're doing here. We're going to start with ourselves, pay attention to what our conscious mind is doing, and we're going to suggest to ourselves. I'm going to continue to suggest to myself about the water for 21 days so it becomes a habit. And if I fall off, I'll just start again. All right. See you guys next week. Bye.